The question today is, how do I love God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength? In Matthew chapter 22, verse 37, Jesus replied, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind." So, what does this verse mean to you? In this verse, Jesus makes it clear that God wants us to love him with all of our heart, all of our soul, and our entire mind, not just a part. That means that God becomes the target of our affections and our desires. It means that God moves to the top of our mind. It means that we love God more than any other thing in this world can offer to us. Last week we learned that Jesus said in John 14:15, "If you love me, obey my commandments." See, loving God with all your heart, all your mind, soul, and strength is tied to our obedience in God. Our obedience to God communicates to him our love for him. So, why do you think that God demands all of our love? Wouldn't he be satisfied with just some of it? He is God. Exodus 34:14 says, "You must worship no other gods. For the Lord, whose very name is jealous, is a God who is jealous about his relationship with you." This verse tells us that God is this jealous God, whose very name is jealous. So what does this mean to you, that God is a jealous God? His very name is jealous. To me, it means that God doesn't want to be second to any other God in our lives. God is God. King David was known as a man after God's own heart, and said this about desiring God in Psalm 42. He said, "As a deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, the living God. Where can I go to meet with God?" Now, you've got to understand that this is not a pleasant picture of little deer like Bambi in a forest, looking for a little thirsty brook, one of the little streams that are available. This is desert country when David is writing this. And desert country in the Middle East, it's hot. I mean, it's not unusual for many parts of the Middle East to reach upwards of over 120 degrees. In Colorado, we get 95 degrees, and we think it's a stinking heat wave. We're cracking on sunscreen, jumping into the pool, leaving all of our gardening work for another day. During the time when David wrote these words in Psalm, it was very hot. Quite possibly, it could have been more than 120 degrees. And remember, they didn't have any suburbs during this time. They didn't have central air. Waterworld wasn't in existence. You couldn't cool yourself off at a mall or a movie theater or even going to church. But there was something known as a wadi, W-A-D-I, a wadi. And a wadi was a place where water was stored up from all the rains. It was a riverbed, a place where a lot of people gathered, and it was a place where wildlife gathered as well. But when the wadis are all dried up, it's not unusual to see deer and other wildlife just lying there dead right by a wadi. They're all over the Middle East. Now, David paints a picture in Psalm 42. All the wadis are dried up. The deer are going to die if it doesn't find water. And you understand that this psalm is expressing something a whole lot deeper than, I just want to sing some choruses or do a little praying, or I want to go to church and whenever I can make it. No, it's nothing like that. It's not even about my subjective want to when it comes to God. It's not a statement of desire. It's a statement of fact. David is saying that just like the deer that has died by the wadi and is panting for streams of water, that is just like the deer by that dried up wadi is panting for streams of water, that deer's life is in the balance. Their knees are starting to weaken. They're about to die. And just like that deer pants for water, so my soul longs, my soul pants for you, O God. In other words, if I don't have God in my life, then my existence will be a prolonged experience of unsatisfied desires, of spiritual dryness, of moral failure and emotional death. That's just reality. That's what will happen to my soul when it's cut off from the Spirit of God. Do you desire God like that? Is your existence, your satisfaction for life, you're very dependent, Your very life dependent on knowing God, knowing Jesus Christ? I mean, does your desire to know God trump every other desire in your life? If not, why not? See, God is attracted to the heart that desires Him. I'll say that again. God is attracted to the heart that desires Him. Here's the crisis. Many of us simply don't desire God as we should, or we handpick what part of God we want in our life. God gives us an incredible picture of what He wants to do in us and the desire He wants to detonate in our lives in Ezekiel chapter 36. He says, "Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all your idols. Moreover, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will be careful to observe my ordinances." See, here God is telling the Israelites that one day He will give them a whole new desire, a desire to seek Him, a desire to know Him, a new desire to experience Him in every part of their lives. How does God do this for us today? How does God cleanse us and put a new heart inside of us? God does this for us through Jesus Christ. When we go to God and we ask forgiveness, we experience the forgiveness of sins. He gives us a new heart. John Piper said in his book, Desiring God, that God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in Him. See, when we love God more than anything else, God is glorified in us. That is our passion. That is what we ought to do. That is how we ought to live our lives in such a way that God is glorified in every aspect of our lives, that every ounce of our lives is committed to serving and following after Him. So that's today. Next time we get together, we'll ask the question, how do I love others as myself? Now take a few moments and think about some of these verses and things you heard today, and write your comments in the section below. We'll see you next time.